Good evening, friends. The Gaming Author here. Excuse me. And it's late at night. Not as late as it normally is when I'm recording these late night ones. Also, wow, the camera just went pitch black there for a moment. But it's still late nonetheless. It is 10:43 in the evening. I'll be going to bed soon. And this is the first vlog I'm recording today. Go figure, huh? This is probably the only clip I'll be recording today. So, not really anything to edit together, but we'll at least be doing our nightly reading. So, that'll add some substance because yesterday's vlog was surprisingly long for only having been 2 clips long. So, that was rather impressive, I must say. So, let's set the tripod down. And this is actually the perfect height. So, I think this is the same height it was last night, if I recall. In any case, got some water, or I guess the camera's right here. Because the screen is like right around here, I keep looking in this direction, not realizing the camera's right there. So, let's share a sip of water. It's nice and cold. Anyway, I figured I'd talk a little bit about today. Today was probably the most chill day I've ever had. I can't say ever, but it's probably the most chill day I've had in quite a long time. I kind of forced myself to relax today. The only actual work I did today was rendering and uploading yesterday's vlog. That was the only thing I did today, really. That qualified as any form of work. So basically the moment that was done, I shut off the laptop so I wasn't tempted to do any work because I actually had 2 days off this week, and I wanted to actually use those to rest, completely decompress, and de-stress, so to say. And it helped a lot. Also, you probably can't see it, but there are cats behind me. It's a little dark over there, but she's on that dark pillow right there. Yeah, right there. Figuring out camera physics is awkward. But yeah, it was really nice. Kayla and I played Stardew Valley together for a bit. She basically played it all day though. She's gotten really into the game again, which I think is awesome. And then I got Trails of Cold Steel 3 for the Switch because I felt like playing it, but I didn't want to boot the PS4 up because that would require going into our office, but I wanted to hang out with Kayla, so I'm like, you know what? I got paid today. I am not spending any more money in general. So, why not get the game on the Switch? Because I forgot that there were Trails games on the Switch. They just have Cold Steels 3 and 4, unfortunately. They don't have 1 or 2 or any of the other Trails games, but you know what? Cold Steel 3 is probably my favorite in the series so far, so I do not mind double dipping. It's been fun so far. I'm just level grinding in the prologue, basically. Because when I first played, I played on the easiest difficulty possible, which, at first seemed like a good idea, because I keep using filler words. I just wanted to progress the story, so I just didn't want to deal with the difficulty that I've had with previous Trails games, like Cold Steel 1 and 2. Like, by the end of the game, I was struggling. So this time I'm playing on normal mode, so I'm actually doing grinding, which isn't really required in the Trails series, but I'm doing it anyway just because it makes me feel secure. So that's what I'm doing. And then I made more progress in Dragon Quest III, more or less. I mostly just did level grinding. My goal was to get everyone to level 50, but I'm realizing now that would take a very long time. And I could do it. I mean, I've spent hours grinding in RPGs before, but we're talking hours. And when I'm this close to the end of the game, I don't want to spend that much time grinding. Oh, both cats are behind me. Yeah, I just relaxed today. It was really, really nice. And then I took a shower, brushed my teeth, all that. So, starting to practice better hygiene habits or just self-care habits in general, just to make myself feel good. So, yeah, nice habits to get into. In any case, I believe we've dawdled enough. It's time we begin our nightly reading. I'd actually prefer if I can It'd probably help if I got Google Docs pulled up, though, right? Let's see. So we left off on chapter 5 when they arrived at the Lazy Tiefling Inn and Pub, because this book is heavily inspired by Dungeons and Dragons, so of course you gotta have a pub and inn combination, even if it's not historically accurate, but this is a fictional world, so who cares? Alright, now let's begin with chapter 6. Lucius's Suspicion. As the day turned to evening and the sun gave way to the night sky, the village of Allure became a quiet place. The excitement from earlier in the morning came to a close. Members of the Crown's Guard remained stationed on the village outskirts, keeping their eyes peeled for the demonic creatures they discussed earlier in the day. From within the village's bounds, Garen, Peter, Anne, and Lenora remained on the second floor of the Lazy Tiefling Inn. Safe and sound, Lucius thought to himself as he walked through the village's streets. A dagger was strapped to his waist, held in a tanned leather scabbard. Beneath his church garb was a thick leather breastplate, a black tunic made of cotton, and black pants. He'd armed himself to face the night. Lucius neared the Allurean church during his walk. At a quick glance, it appeared as it always did, but something sent a shiver down his spine as he looked at it. He immediately noticed that all the lights in the church were turned off. In the darkness, he saw something stirring. They were little more than silhouettes. For a moment, Lucius attempted to pass the vision off as a trick of the eyes in the night, something he only saw through his peripheral vision. But glancing directly into the dark windows, he saw irrefutable movement. The shapeless form was swift, moving from one window to the next. I'm going to move the tripod, because I don't want history repeating itself. The movement stopped. Lucius watched the windows with unblinking eyes, waiting for something else to happen. But after a few moments of waiting, the darkness remained still. Another shiver crawled down Lucius's back. "Everything all right?" Jamiroquai's voice startled Lucius. He jumped, his heart pounding hard against his chest for a single instant, and he caught his breath upon finding the source of the voice. Jamiroquai stood behind him with arms crossed, her eyes on the church. "How long have you been there?" Lucius asked. "Long enough," Jamiroquai answered. She looked at Lucius with squinted eyes and glanced towards the church. Was something in there? Lucius stumbled on his words for a moment. "I actually don't know." He glanced back at the church for a few seconds and looked at Jamiroquai again. "I saw something moving, but I don't know what it could be. All the lights are off. The bishop never turns all of them off." "It's strange indeed." Jamiroquai examined the windows as well, her index finger and thumb stroking her chin. "But what's more strange is you." "Huh? How so?" Jamiroquai poked Lucius in the chest. "Leather armor, a dagger. Lucius, what were you planning on doing tonight?" Lucius crossed his arms and backed away. "None of your business, that's what. Did you follow me or something? I'm the one asking questions here. You can't just revoke the right to ask questions from me." "It's a little something called a give and take, friend." Before either of them could say anything further, a light turned on in one of the church windows. Both of them stopped for a moment. In the light, they saw two silhouetted figures, one of a man with a hunched back and one of something else. It had no discernible features or shapes, but it was moving just as well as the silhouette of the man. "What is going on in there?" Jamiroquai asked with a hushed tone. "I don't know," Lucius said. He squinted as he looked at the shadows for a longer amount of time. "One of them looks like the bishop, but what about that second one? It looks like an animal or something." Jamiroquai took a couple steps closer to the church. In the window, they saw the silhouette of a man communicating with the animal-like shadow. The animal-like shadow grew taller, but only a little bit, and its shapeless form gradually became that of a man, a younger man with taller posture than the other silhouette. Lucius gasped. "What is that?" he asked himself. The two silhouettes moved and paced about the room, but the taller of the two stopped. It turned and looked, presumably, out the window, and a chill came over Lucius's body. The light in the room shut off immediately. Both of the silhouetted men began moving quickly out of view. As soon as they did, Lucius grabbed Jamiroquai by the wrist and began to run. Jamiroquai didn't speak. She simply ran along with him, sliding her wrist from the cleric's grasp effortlessly, and the two of them turned a corner into an alleyway, hiding behind the nearest building they could find. What's all this about? Jamarque asked. You work for the bishop, Lucius. Why are you so worried about being caught looking at him through a window? All that Lucius could reply with were the sounds of his out-of-breath panting as he shook his head. Suspicious activity, he said between breaths. Bishop isn't... He's not... Fucking A, I need some water. He's not what? The words came out of Jamarque suddenly, sharply and loudly. Lucius's eyes widened. He clenched his teeth, pressed his index finger against his lips, and hissed a shush at her. Taking a few more deep breaths, he finally gathered enough energy to speak. He's not normal, he said. You don't have to tell me that, Jamarque remarked. He's a religious leader. None of them are normal. It's not just that. Lucius peeked around the corner of the building they hid behind and looked at the church. Outside, the bishop stood with a silver-barreled rifle in hand. At the sight, Lucius gently grabbed Jamarque's shoulder and pulled her further into the village streets. Something's been wrong with him lately. At first I turned a blind eye to it, but now I regret having not said anything sooner. Because I'm pretty sure he's out to kill anyone who's even vaguely suspicious of his secrets. His secrets? What secrets do you mean exactly? Lucius shrugged and wrapped his fingers around the hilt of his dagger. That's the thing, he said. I have no idea, but I know he must have plenty. Terrible secrets, too, if he's prepared to kill. That's another thing. Jamarque put her hands on her hips. He's out to kill? Prepared to kill? Where are you getting all of this? Lucius threw his hand out towards the church. Why don't you look and see for yourself? He's out there armed with a freaking rifle right now. It only took a second for Jamarque to look out at the church, for her eyes to widen and to back up, looking at Lucius. I wasn't kidding, Lucius said. If that's how he reacts to me simply looking through a window. We were far from the church anyway, though, Jamarque added. What if he didn't think it was you? It's entirely possible he mistook you for someone else. Tensions are high when it comes to all this business regarding demons, you know. I know. Lucius let out a quiet sigh and continued looking out towards the church. The bishop stood outside, looking around at the immediate vicinity before turning back around, and headed back into the church. Lucius slumped his shoulders and relaxed, not realizing how tense they had become during the matter. Looks like he went back inside. Good. Jamarque smiled as she spoke. We finally have time then. What were you doing out here in the first place? Taking care of business, Lucius said. He took a quick glance around at their surroundings, and after seeing that everything seemed clear of unwanted company, he began walking towards the east. I'm investigating a hunch of mine. What would this hunch be? Jamarque asked. As Lucius approached another nearby building, he peeked around the corner and spotted a man standing there, looking around at the streets of Allure. Lucius unsheathed his dagger, ran up to the man, and dug the blade deep into the man's neck. The man barely made a sound before crumpling to the ground. Jamarque watched Lucius murder the man with wide eyes and glared at him. What did you just do? Look closer, Lucius said, pointing with the dagger at the corpse. The first thing Jamarque noticed was that there was no blood on the blade. The second thing was that from the man's neck came not blood, but black smoke. Slowly, the corpse devolved into a shapeless black form of a thin creature with leathery skin, long limbs, sharp claws, and glowing red eyes. The two watched the glow of the eyes leave before the entire body became nothing but black smoke, drifting away in the air. Lucius returned his dagger to its scabbard and crossed his arms. I noticed this man a few times today, he began. Ever since Lenora woke up, he'd been quietly trailing behind us, watching where we were going and perhaps even listening to us speak. I first started suspecting he was a demon when I saw his eyes. They alternated between yellow and red every time I saw him, the colors of demonic eyes. Jamarque stood in silence with her mouth agape and her eyes wide, watching the black smoke of the demon dissipate in the evening air. He's been watching us? She asked. She shivered at her own words. Goodness, I can't even imagine what we would have done if you hadn't noticed. Her heart was beating hard and fast. Lucius, what's going on? I don't think Lenora brought these demons with her because these attacks have been going on since before her arrival. I don't blame her either, Lucius said, but I can't claim to know what's going on myself. He closed his eyes and breathed deeply. All I can say is that I know the bishop can no longer be trusted. If the bishop can't be trusted, Jamarque began, can anyone? Despite political figures in town, he seems to hold the most power in Allure. He does, doesn't he? Lucius laughed unamused. Son of a bitch, he does. The Crown's Guard answers to him. The villagers pay their taxes to him. He holds power over the entire treasury. Lucius shook his head and leaned against the building behind him. He's been putting on this holy guise for all these years, and behind our backs, he somehow gained influence over the whole area. People listen to him and trust him. If your suspicions of him are correct, this is terrible news, Jamarque replied. But I feel we can't jump the gun so soon, you know? And besides, with Lenora just arriving today, she deserves some time to relax. I don't know if she'll get that time, Lucius said. He scratched the back of his head and nodded. We'll bide our time, but like the bishop, we should act in secret as well, like I just did with that demon that's been watching us, and make sure the kids don't know about any of this. He looked up at the evening sky. The clouds were illuminated by the bright light of the moon. We may have a long, deadly journey ahead of us. And that, my friends, was chapter 6. Also, I realized how close the camera was. Well, hopefully that just means my voice was nice and clear while reading. Hope you guys like it. Story's starting to pick up a little bit, so we're getting into the more actiony stuff. Let me take a sip of water here. And when I say sip, I mean like 3 gulps. But yeah, with that, tomorrow, I think we will continue reading. We'll get to chapter 7. And, oh yeah, I forgot to talk about something. So, Kayla and I were watching a YouTuber we really like. He is an Australian YouTuber by the name of Little Z, and a little shout out there, even though he doesn't need it, but I figured might as well anyway. He's awesome. He does really funny Smash videos, mostly Smash Brothers related videos, and like watching him, like we were talking about, man, what if we just moved to Australia? And we were like, you know what, that'd be cool. And then I was like, what about New Zealand? I've been thinking about wanting to go to New Zealand since I was a kid. It's like, once we're fully vaccinated and have our passports and everything, I'd love to at least visit there once, if we can, someday. And then eventually move there. That's an actual goal I want to keep in mind as I deal with life and work, just something to shoot for. Because I'd love to move to New Zealand. I would just love to. It's been a dream of mine since I was really young, so here's hoping we can make that dream a reality someday. And I feel like it's nice to have a long-term goal like that in general. Because, like, a lot of the goals we come up with are short-term. Like, okay, eventually I want to get a car. I want to get my license. Like, those aren't necessarily long-term goals, but something like moving abroad, now that's a goal to work for a long time. And I want to keep that goal in mind as I deal with life and hope that it'll carry me through some of my tougher days. Just imagine what it'll be like if we're able to make this happen. Also, the cats are being weird. But yeah, I thought I'd share you guys that little dream of mine. And it may be a pipe dream, but it's a dream nonetheless. And like Director Lazard says in Crisis Core, unattainable dreams are the best kind. And now, they never really explained it in the game, I feel, but I've loved that quote ever since I played Crisis Core. And the older I get, the more I understand why it's such a profound quote to me. Just the phrase, unattainable dreams are the best kind. Like, this was in response to Zack telling him his ultimate dream is to become a hero. And I think that quote is so amazing because what he means by that is that you're, like, not only keeping your imagination active by dreaming big, like beyond the scope of what burnt out, jaded human adults dream of, you're dreaming of something that you can spend your entire life chasing. And that's amazing. Like, a lot of people who dream and plan and everything, they're so worried about the destination that they forget the journey is the biggest part of it. So having an unattainable dream, but is something you can actually work towards, even if you can't attain it, is amazing, because you can spend your entire life working on it and you'll never be bored, basically. You will always have something to work towards, and I think that is amazing. So I think moving to New Zealand is one of those unattainable dreams, and I'll be glad to take it. In any case, I've rambled on long enough. This is only a single clip. It's already almost as long as yesterday's vlog, so I'm just gonna leave it there. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and